Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Runyon, and I'm the Special Agent in charge of FBI Detroit Field Office. Our hearts continue to be with the community as they heal from this attack, especially the Temple Israel security team, its staff, teachers, and family. The FBI continues to support these victims through our online virtual victim assistance center, which can be found at www.fbi.gov/West Bloomfield victims, plural. This website provides a host of resources still available to anyone who has been impacted by this attack. The purpose of today's press conference is to provide the investigative findings as well as a timeline into the motive of this attack against the Jewish community at Temple Israel on March 12th. From the outset, this has been a full-scale investigation with our special agents, intelligence analysts, linguists, digital forensic examiners, evidence response team members, our professional staff, and our special agent bomb techs to work around the clock in close coordination with our law enforcement partners. Despite the fire in the truck and the assailant's attempts to delete his digital footprint, we have processed hundreds of digital and forensic evidence items. We've conducted over 100 interviews of witnesses, family, and associates. We also continue to work with our foreign partners to receive any information that would shed light on the activities of the assailant or any threats currently here in Michigan. Based on the evidence gathered to date, we assess this attack to be a Hezbollah-inspired act of terrorism purposely targeting the Jewish community and the largest Jewish temple in Michigan. The FBI defines terrorism as a violent criminal act by an individual who is inspired by or associated with a designated foreign terrorist organization. We do not make this characterization lightly without a thorough review and keen evaluation of the facts. In this case, the evidence shows the attacker was motivated and inspired by Hezbollah's militant ideology. Although the assailant's attack planning and mobilization to violence began in earnest on March 9th, which I will fully detail here shortly, a review of his online activities since January 2026 revealed a reoccurring search history of pro-Hezbollah news channels, Iranian news channels, and videos about shootouts and bullets. He regularly consumed breaking news and statements and live coverage of the current Secretary General of Hezbollah, Naim Qassem, and viewed news coverage about an Iranian fatwa for total jihad against the U.S. military. Beginning on March 9th, during the early mornings, the assailant started viewing web pages of local synagogues, and in the afternoon, he attempted to purchase a weapon from two different individuals, both of whom we've identified and interviewed. After those people denied his request, he then purchased an AR-style rifle at a local gun store in Dearborn Heights, along with 10 rifle magazines and approximately 300 rounds of .223 rifle ammunition. While he was at the gun store, he ordered a rifle magazine pouch as well as 40 5.3-gallon water containers from an online store. After that gun store, he then began researching locations for local fireworks vendors. Throughout the night of March 9th, the assailant began visiting numerous different web pages of Jewish cultural, educational, and religious centers all throughout the Detroit metro area, and even viewed multiple pages of upcoming events at Temple Israel. During the morning and early morning of March 10th, he continued his online searches with specific search terms and phrases such as the largest gathering of Israelis in Michigan, Orthodox synagogues, Israelis near me, what time is the Trump rally in Michigan, as well as a center affiliated with the Israeli embassy in Michigan. He later attempted to try and delete these queries, but we were able to recover them. At approximately 1 p.m. on March 10th, the assailant visited a local shooting range and practiced shooting his new weapon. He then drove to the local fireworks vendor that he researched at approximately 2 p.m. and purchased over $2,200 of fireworks. After leaving that local fireworks vendor, he continued reviewing web pages related to Temple Israel, its clergy, and its upcoming events. On March 11th, the day before the attack, in the early morning, he began adding photos to a Facebook photo album that he entitled Vengeance. And he started including images such as the late Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini, as well as the late Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah, with there in the right, in Arabic, it says, "Burn their world, for we have a vendetta against them that we will never forget." Throughout that morning on the 11th, he continued to post photos of his deceased brothers, niece, and nephew, and exchanged some messages with his family. However, at approximately 2:22 p.m., the delivery of his 45.3-gallon collapsible water containers arrived. And from 2:45 onward, we see him begin planning and organizing his truck. And he goes to get gas 4 different times so that he can fill up his containers without alerting too much suspicion. By 10:50 p.m., he makes his final run to a gas station and purchases 2 torch lighters, which we believe he used to light his truck on fire. Throughout the same afternoon, while he's organizing his truck and going to gas stations, the assailant continued reviewing web pages for Temple Israel and its upcoming events. And by 6:30, he continued posting pro-Hezbollah propaganda, as well as videos of his brother, and watching a video about how Israel is the most violent country in the world. Next slide. This is just an example of some of the posts that he was posting during the afternoon of the 11th. On the left is a statement issued by the Islamic Resistance of Hezbollah about the beginning of a military operation on March 11th called El-As El-Makul, which is a term used in the Quran where it refers to the destruction of the enemy and turning the enemy into withered, dead leaves. In the bottom left of that photo on the left, you can see 2 logos. One is for the military media of the Islamic Resistance, and the second logo is for Lebanese Hezbollah. On the right is a meme with the actual verse from the Quran in the Al-Fil chapter where it describes destroying the enemy and turning them into dead and withered leaves. At approximately 9:40 p.m., before he went to his last round of gas, he did one final search for what time is lunch at Temple Israel, and later deleted that query as well. On the morning of the attack, early in the morning hours, he posted numerous photos to Facebook of his deceased family members, as well as the following comments. Can you go back one? Right there. In the early morning hours, he continued posting on random and various Facebook profiles that said, "We will seek retribution for their sacred blood." Simu, which was a phrase for his brother, "Heaven is fortunate to have you." Israel is a cancerous, malignant growth. Israel is pure evil. And the oppressors will soon know what kind of end they will meet. By 6:56, he searched again online for additional rifle accessories. And by 7:20, he made a Facebook status post that said, "You killed the Ali and Hussein of our time. We will avenge their blood." He also posted additional comments to various Facebook threads and added additional photos to his Vengeance profile photo album in Facebook. From 8:45 to 9:52 that morning, before he left, the assailant visited the web pages again of a local firearms vendor, sporting goods store, and searched for a double magazine holster. At approximately 9:18 a.m., the assailant departed for Temple Israel and arrived, as we all know, at approximately 9:58 a.m. At 10:01, he sends his sister a picture of a receipt that says $2,000 to Dad. And by 10:12, as he's sitting in the parking lot, he posts 4 videos, which were taken as he was driving to Temple Israel that morning. In the background of these videos, which I'm just providing screenshots of, are Arabic anthems playing in the background that have the themes of resistance and military defiance and impending dawn. By 10:13, right after those 4 videos are posted, he posts this photo to his Vengeance photo album, that there's no need to learn Hebrew anymore. Next slide. And by 10:34 onward, this is where we see a significant amount of his ideology come forward. While he's sitting in the parking lot, he sends his sister overseas 19 videos, photos, and messages that reiterated his intent to commit a mass terrorist attack, as well as affirming his Hezbollah-inspired ideology. These communications included statements expressing a commitment to commit violent action, references to martyrdom, as well as threats to attack what he described as the largest gathering of Israelis in Michigan. I'm going to provide a few of the screenshots. I'm not providing comprehensively everything that we have during this time. First, here is a meme that he sent, the first one he sent to his sister. The translation is, "Jihad is the gateway to heaven, one that God opens to his chosen ones." Next slide. Next photo he sends her in order is a photo with the verse from the Quran overlaid there in yellow. "For such he has written faith in their hearts and strengthened them with the Spirit from himself. And he will admit them to the gardens beneath which rivers flow to dwell therein. God will be well pleased with them and they with him. They are the party of God. Truly it is the party of God that will achieve felicity." His sister asked him to stop sending these photos, but he continues with a numerous set of videos, and I have a few screenshots. This first video and the screenshot is him sitting in the car with the same upbeat anthem from earlier, and it's called "This People Sends You a Call." And the chant in the background, while he's holding the gun, praises the south of Lebanon, the Hezb, the fighters, and those who die for the cause. He displays his weapon at the end of the video and says, "We rely on God." In a second video with the same screenshot, he continues with a chant in the background that encourages one to bomb the enemies and bring death upon them. It also encourages listeners to invade and attack enemy fortresses. The next video screenshot, the next video he sends, is him listening to Hezbollah Secretary General Naim Qassem talking. And the Secretary General is saying that the listeners have one of two choices: victory or martyrdom. Qassem praises the Mujahideen in the field for giving the rest of them courage and determination. And the Arabic writing at the top in yellow says, "I remain committed." The bottom video screenshot is a video of him with the upbeat battle song in the background. The song mentions it's time for slaughter and bloodshed, and there's no time to draw back. While he's listening and recording himself driving, he yells, "Allahu Akbar," and then interrupts to declare his total devotion to God, saying that he is answering the call to heaven. Next slide. This photo, which I believe is out in the public, is a text up on the upper part. It's a verse from the Quran that it says, "The believers who are true to what they promised God, some have died for the cause and some are still waiting, but will never change." The bottom caption has the reference from earlier where it says, "Burn or ignite their world, for we have a vengeance or a vendetta that we will never forget." The last meme that I'll show you is a screenshot that he was taking and sent to his sister in the parking lot as well, where he covers up the Israeli flag with the yellow cover paint there and puts the phrase "Party of God" or Hezbollah over the Israeli flag. And yellow is a color often and always used and represent Hezbollah's sense of loyalty and sacrifice. Finally, and most concerning, is approximately 10 minutes before the attack, he sends his sister two final videos. In Arabic, he records himself saying with this screenshot, "This is the largest gathering of Israelis in the state of Michigan, in the United States. I have booby-trapped the car. I will forcibly enter and start shooting them. God willing, I will kill as many of them as I possibly can." He sends a quick 3-second video with the same screenshot shortly after and types the message, "A special operation." In between these videos and photos, the assailant exchanged 5 short phone calls with his ex-wife, who called Dearborn Heights, the police department, requesting that they do a welfare check on her ex-husband. And at 12:19, as we all know, the assailant drove his vehicle ramming into the doors of door 5, and he hit it twice. Tried once to hit it, had to reposition his truck, and then came in at a high rate of speed, going about 200 feet down the hallway. Between 12:20 and 12:22, the assailant and Temple Israel security guards exchanged gunfire before we see that the assailant appears to set off the fireworks from the interior of his vehicle at approximately 12:22. By 12:30, the vehicle is on fire and the hallway is full of smoke. We are very grateful that aside from the assailant, there were no additional fatalities. However, this evidence makes very clear the attacker intended to cause significant amounts of harm to the members and the children present at Temple Israel that day. At this stage of the investigation, we've continued to find no evidence of co-conspirators, nor do we have information that indicates a current and active threat to the community at this time. I also want to address a few points that have drawn some public attention. Despite what has been in the reporting in the media, at the time of this incident, the assailant was not the subject of or referenced in any prior FBI investigation, nor was he on the terrorist watch list. There was no evidence that he previously visited or conducted pre-physical surveillance or pre-attack surveillance at Temple Israel prior to the attack. There were no additional improvised explosive devices besides the fireworks that we have described in the vehicle other than what we've already put out. And based upon the size of the water containers, we now assess that the subject used approximately 35 gallons of gasoline, not just the 20 to 30 that I had previously stated, in attempts to enhance his fireworks to set off the vehicle. Finally, I want to extend a deep thanks to my federal, state, and local partners, as well as the Jewish community organizations that have worked with us throughout this response. Their partnership has been and continues to be essential to our investigative efforts, as well as our shared mission to keep the Jewish community safe from any future threats. Thank you. And I'll now turn it over to the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan, Jerome Gorgan.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As Special Agent in Charge Runyon just told you, my name is Jerome Gorgan. I'm the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan. As the Chief Federal Law Enforcement Officer in this district, it is my job to make final charging decisions for federal crimes like this one. Before I do that, I want to thank SAC Runyon and the FBI for their tireless work on this investigation and their exceptional support of the victims. I also thank our other law enforcement partners for their valuable contributions and leadership. I have seen troubling statements made about this terrorist attack. To be fair, those imprudent claims were made without the benefit of seeing this evidence. But now there is no excuse. After reviewing the evidence that the FBI presented just at this press conference, and had this man lived, I am convinced that my office would prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he committed the federal crime of providing material support to Hezbollah, a designated foreign terrorist organization. Under federal law, terrorism includes premeditated, politically motivated violence perpetrated against non-combatant targets, like the American children he targeted at this Jewish temple. To prove this terrorism crime, there are three parts or elements. First, that this man knew that Hezbollah was a terrorist organization. Second, that he provided material support to Hezbollah. And third, that he did it under Hezbollah's direction and control. First, there should be no confusion. We are in America. We are under and we are protected by American law. And under American law, the U.S. State Department, with President Bill Clinton, designated Hezbollah as a foreign terrorist organization back in 1997. This formal designation followed Hezbollah's 1983 terrorist attack on the U.S. Marine compound in Beirut, Lebanon, where a terrorist killed 241 American service members. So Hezbollah has been a notorious anti-American terrorist organization for decades. Remember that the terrorist from Hezbollah in 1983 drove a truck loaded with explosives into a building to kill Americans. That is exactly what this terrorist did a few weeks ago in our backyard. He methodically planned, armed himself, and then drove an explosives-laden truck into a temple filled with American children. And SAC Runyon showed you just some of the other evidence that he supported Hezbollah. His phone and videos were filled with their terrorist propaganda, including his deliberate use of Hezbollah yellow. Third, this man acted under Hezbollah's direction and control. I've seen some odd attempts to explain away or even lessen this terrorist attack by claiming that he was an isolated lone wolf, but that is misleading. Terrorist propaganda is designed to activate the so-called lone wolf to act on behalf of the terrorist organization. And it makes no legal difference if the current leader of Hezbollah himself, Naim Qassem, called this man and told him to attack Temple Israel, or whether he simply heeded Hezbollah's call to kill Jews and, in his words, burn their world. So do not be misled. This terrorist acted on behalf of Hezbollah, and he intended to kill others, not just himself. He could have done that in a garage or in his basement. He did not need to plan for days, arm himself, and try to take dozens of Jewish American children with him. His death was just a means or a tool to kill as many Jews as he could. That's why his last statements were that he was on a special operation to kill as many of them as he possibly can. And it's because of the evidence presented today that there is no question that we would prove that this man provided material support to the terrorist organization Hezbollah. Thank you. And now you'll hear from Dale Young, Chief of the West Bloomfield Police Department.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Dale Young, and I have the honor of serving as the Police Chief of West Bloomfield Township. First and foremost, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to Temple Israel Security for their immediate and courageous response during the terror attack on Temple Israel. Your bravery made a difference in the most critical moments. I also want to offer a heartfelt thank you to the teachers and staff of Temple Israel, whose quick thinking and compassion helped keep the children calm and safe throughout this horrific event. To the officers, firefighters, dispatchers, civilian staff, and all our local, county, state, and federal partners who responded or supported us in any way. Your dedication and unity in the face of adversity remind us of the strength of the public safety community. A special thank you as well to Shenandoah Country Club for opening your doors and immediately embracing both the public and law enforcement. And to our West Bloomfield residents, your willingness to assist law enforcement that day was invaluable and is a testament to the spirit of our community. At this critical moment, I want to be absolutely clear. We stand firmly with our Jewish community. We remain unwavering in our commitment to protect them and all members of our community from those who seek to do harm. To everyone in West Bloomfield Township, please know that our commitment to your safety is our highest priority. We safeguard this community through constitutional policing, vigilance, and strong partnerships. Your officers are alert, engaged, and ready to respond to any threat. We continue to collaborate closely with our law enforcement partners, gathering intelligence and adapting our operational plans as needed. The West Bloomfield Township Board of Trustees remains dedicated to investing in our professional development and ensuring we have access to some of the best resources in the industry. West Bloomfield Township is and will always be a vibrant, inclusive place to live, work, and visit. Our community is strong, resilient, and united. Together, we will continue to move forward, supporting one another every step of the way. Thank you. I'll now turn over the microphone to FBI Special Agent in Charge, Jennifer Rummel.
Okay, I can take a few questions.
If you want to come to the, excuse me, can you come to the microphone, please? Apologize for that. Podium, please. learned from WWJ. You mentioned that the sister was receiving pictures and just odd messages from her brother prior to the attack. Did she report any of this prior to this happening? Or?
So we believe that she's located in Lebanon, and based upon the communications that we see, she didn't see the additional videos that were sent until an hour after the attack.
Corey at the AP, given the evidence that you guys found, how much more sobering is this attack now than it was the day it happened?
It's still as sobering as it was on the first day. The amazingness that we had no additional fatalities based upon what this assailant was planning to do is just a testament to the preparedness of the Temple Israel security guards. And no matter what the motive, it is still something that we take very seriously, and we make sure that we can prepare for, respond, disrupt any sort of attacks like this from happening ever again.
Charlie Langton, Fox 2. Maybe for the U.S. Attorney, but did I misunderstand perhaps this guy was getting some direction from Hezbollah? And if that's the case, that you would bring a charge of providing material support, there must be someone else out there, maybe Hezbollah, that would face charges. Any other people involved with this?
What I was saying is that under the law, in order to prove direction and control, there's no legal difference whether a Hezbollah commander called this man and said, go do this attack, or whether this man consumed Hezbollah propaganda and heeded the call within the propaganda to go do an attack. When we have only the latter type of evidence, we charge material support. If we have evidence that another person's involved, then it's conspiracy. So what we have now is what I discussed.
No conspiracy. You don't believe there's any other person that assisted with this crime from this guy?
The information that we have up to this point is just as Special Agent Runyon said, information sufficient to charge providing material support. Thank you, sir.
Hi, Renelle Greer, Detroit Jewish News. In some of his messages to his sister, he said he was going to go and shoot as many people as he could. So were the explosives, do you know, was that just to take his own life if he ordered, or did he plan to?
So there's no way for me to fully know what was in his mind. Mm-hmm. That last video where he is basically issuing a statement of his why is, I plan to kill as many and I booby-trapped the car. And I think in his mind, he was trying to cause a mass amount of damage as quickly as possible to a set of over 100 kids who were just going to school that day. And that's the terribleness of this attack. Okay.
And also to clarify material support, you said he provided material support to Hezbollah. How is that? By doing that act of terrorism?
Yes, he provided himself just the same way a soldier would provide himself an attack. So he was the support.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Alan Lundell from Medline, Detroit. Quick question. The IDF came out with information that his brother was the commander in Hezbollah and was killed. Was the planning for this attack for the death of his brother, or was this precipitated by the death of his brother?
So we saw that before the death of his family, before the Iran war, the assailant was consuming pro-Hezbollah materials, was affiliated with that ideology. While the mobilization and radicalization we saw in earnest come after March 9th, it still is almost immaterial because it's a terrorist attack that had nothing against people who had nothing to do with the death of his family. It was a target attack against the Jewish community here in Michigan.
The purchase of weapons and firecrackers, was that after the death of his brother?
Yes, sir. It was on March 9th and 10th, like I laid out. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hi there, Faraz from Channel 7 ABC Detroit. A couple of questions, and I think you might have answered this, but just for safety. Do you, based on the evidence that you've collected, do you believe that the assailant would have carried out the attack even without his family members being killed?
So our investigation has to follow the facts, and the facts in this case are very clear that he was engaging with that ideology beforehand, and there is no, and he used that material to justify his actions to target the largest temple in Michigan. And so there's no action that justifies or contextualizes this attack to make it, well, it's because of his family or not. It's a Hezbollah-inspired act of terrorism. When it happened and in the timeline of events, it still is based on this ideology and attempt to kill as many people as possible.
So are you saying that he could have been activated any time?
I'm not in his head, and I can't opine on his motives at this point in time. If he was alive, we may be able to ask that. But I've laid out the facts that we have to date, and at the end of the day, it's a Hezbollah-inspired act of terrorism that happened on March 12th.
There's also mixed messaging in terms of like if he was directly part of Hezbollah, or is it only his brothers were working for Hezbollah? Can you shed some clarity on that?
Sure. So he was inspired by Hezbollah. The FBI has not been able to independently verify if he was indeed a member of Hezbollah. Hezbollah would like to share with us their member list. That would make the FBI's job a lot easier. But at the end of the day, he was using that ideology to radicalize and justify his attack.
One last question is this case considered closed, or any of his family members being investigated or anything like that?
It's an ongoing investigation, so I'm not going to go into who else we may be looking at and talking to. We are going to continue to review all the evidence that we have, but we wanted to come today. We felt it was an appropriate time to release the motive and the evidence that we had at this time.
It's still an open case.
It's still an ongoing open investigation, yes, sir.
Hi, Steve Gallup, CBS Detroit. I'm curious, I know you mentioned that the assailant was researching Temple Israel and he had looked up stuff like what time is lunch, but is it believed that he knew that there was preschool and that there were dozens, maybe over 100 children, young children inside of the temple at the time he attacked?
I'm not able to know what he knew. I know that he researched a significant amount of pages, web pages of various Jewish centers and facilities and schools in the area, that he spent time researching the different upcoming events at Temple Israel. I have no way to know if he knew exactly who would be there that day.
Thank you.
Yep. And two more questions.
Hi, Courtney Weil, Blaze News. You said that he was not under federal investigation prior to this incident, is that correct?
Correct.
So knowing what we know now, and he did have an interaction with Customs and Border Protection back in 2019, was anything missed from that if he was sort of not then placed on federal radar?
I would have to defer you to CBP. I was not a part of that search. The FBI wasn't a part of that search. The FBI works diligently and proactively with all of our partners to make sure that we're aware of any potential threats. What CBP had at that time, you'd have to refer to them.
Colin Jackson, Michigan Public Radio Network. You had mentioned he had attempted to purchase a firearm from two individuals before going to a gun store. I'm wondering what questioning from those two individuals came up with, and whether that background check at the gun store, if one was performed, and if that turned up any flags.
So relating to the conversations with the people we've interviewed, I'm going to leave that off the table because that's between us and the FBI and that person. But in terms of the gun check, the assailant had no previous criminal history. He was a U.S. citizen. There was nothing to flag that he should not be able in Michigan to purchase a long gun like many people in Michigan do.
And one more question, if I may. You had mentioned that this was an attack from Hezbollah, considered a Hezbollah-directed attack on U.S. soil. I'm wondering what implications that has for U.S. foreign policy and for public safety here in Michigan.
I can't speak to U.S. foreign policy. That's definitely way above my pay grade. But what I can tell you in Michigan is that we have no specific credible threats of a Hezbollah attack against Michigan at this time. The FBI works through our Joint Terrorism Task Force with all of our state, local, and federal partners. We've had great success here in Michigan, as you've witnessed on our Pumpkin Day disruption, and we continue to be proactive to do everything we can to make sure we keep the people in Michigan safe. Thank you. Okay.
One more. Thank you for taking it. His brother, is in Lebanon or was in Lebanon?
Good question. He had two brothers that were in Lebanon.
Did either of his brothers have anything to do with the planning and him carrying out this attack?
We have no evidence of that to show that.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much.